So if I'm disabled, why don't I look disabled? If you haven't heard of invisible disabilities, it's basically that it may not, it's exactly what it sounds like. Someone's disabled, but they don't look that way. Disability has a lot of different definitions. So, one could be whether you can do your activities of daily living. So, for example, with me, I am not able to cook food for myself. Unless we were to modify my kitchen in very extreme ways, I can't cook for myself. My husband has to cook for me. I can't really do most jobs because most jobs require you to not have a lot of sick days and require you to be awake at certain times a day that my disabilities do not allow me to be awake. I have looked for jobs that have hours that are in the afternoon, but they do not seem to be as plentiful. And even then, they often have some restrictions. I can't be around light a bunch of the time because it's a migraine trigger for me. So even the small amount of dim light in this room could trigger a migraine. Certain smells also will trigger migraine, so I have to work remotely. I can't be around others because of the smells. When it comes to other activities of daily living, like bathing myself, we had to modify my shower in some pretty extreme ways. I mean, you wouldn't think it's that extreme to add like bars and um, a detachable shower head and install a bath chair, but it was actually pretty extensive because of the way that we installed the bath chair. And even then, it takes probably 5 times as much effort to bathe myself as it used to. And for a while, only my husband could help me bathe, otherwise, I couldn't bathe. Um, Cognitively, I seem to be fine much of the time, but other times I get brain fog. And people say that's caused by fibromyalgia, which I have, which is constant, widespread pain. Let that sink in. If you don't have fibromyalgia, think for a moment about what constant, widespread pain would do to your body. Apparently, it can also come with things that affect your mind, but in my case, the things that affect my mind have more to do with conversion disorder. So that's if you've seen any videos of me with a different foreign accent, you would think that's pretty mild, but it also changes my vocabulary. Like it robs me of certain words. Like it'll greatly reduce my vocabulary. It'll change the way that I say sentences so that they don't make as much sense to others. Um, and sometimes it even looks like I'm having a stroke, which is fun. And sometimes it'll come with not being able to move certain parts of my body. And I don't know when conversion disorder will set in. There's not really a treatment for it other than learning to manage stress, which is not always the easiest thing to do, especially in a work environment. So this video is a little bit more honest than I normally get with the world about what my disabilities are. So I am very nervous to post it, but part of me feels that it's important to post these things. And as I've mentioned before, from looking at analytics, this is 3.5 minutes into a video, and people's attention span, especially on TikTok, tends to be like 5 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. If you're really good, you'll get 60 seconds of attention. So if people are still watching at the 3.5 minute mark, that means they're probably people who are not going to judge me for all of these things I said about being disabled. I will have to re-look at my footage and see what I said in the first 60 seconds. But even then, most people are only going to give 5 to 15 seconds of their attention. So, why am I not on Social Security disability, SSDI? Or in some cases, people only get SSI if they haven't worked enough. I was. I was on SSDI, but one of my disabilities causes an abundance of confidence, which sounds very strange, but it also leads to like no sleep and impulsive decision making. So, I applied for a job when I was on disability and I got the job, and I was at the job long enough that Social Security disability no longer had to pay me. They do continue paying you for the first year that you are working. They did overpay me and then they wanted all the money back, and that was fun. I did not have as many disabilities back then, especially I wasn't as limited physically as I am now. And even the conversion disorder is relatively new. That was something that came about last year. So I might have a good chance of getting Social Security, but the norm is that they deny everyone first. And then it's on appeal. So usually their second or third is when they win. And that was my case. I won on the third try, and it took about a year, which is normal to take a year or longer. And so it would be pretty hard to go without income that whole time. And I am going to attempt to get on disability. But in the meantime, it's only because of the loved ones in my life that that's even remotely possible, that I could go that long without income. And think about people who are disabled who don't have those safety nets. Especially SSI requires you to remain poor that whole time. So I don't know how people do it. Obviously, people do it. There is this false thought, and my mom even believes this myth, that a lot of people are faking their disabilities to get on disability. And if we could just quit thinking that, because you don't know what another person is going through, and you don't know, with the existence of invisible disabilities, you don't really know if that other person is faking it. The actress who plays Tahani on Good Place, she has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. She's been very public about mentioning that. That's an invisible disability, and so a lot of people don't realize how disabled she is. I wish I could remember her name. I'm blanking on it right now. Starts with a J. That's about all I can get. But in general, you don't know. And there isn't really an upside to people faking disabilities when it comes to getting on benefits, because the benefits are so small. Like, I think before I was on $1,100 a month in Seattle, where the average rent is more than that. At the time, the rent was a bit lower than that. But so I know that it's going to be a bit higher now because they have cost of living adjustments. But what would be the point of going through an entire year of appeals to end up on $1,100 a month? Like, I don't know if people have thought through. Maybe they think disability is higher than it is money-wise, or what. Certainly a lot of people can relate to not wanting to work. But in my case, it's not that I don't want to work. It's that working impairs me, and I am too impaired to work most jobs. And I probably will keep trying to work. And if being an influencer, ugh, what a terrible word that is. Being a content creator, let's try that. If being a content creator were to work out for me, then great. If I could get income from content creation, that's something I can do on my own time and my own schedule and with my unique, authentic voice. Although I did do that video about parasocial and seroposial, and like how being authentic might actually hurt me. But no one gave me that memo, so I was probably too authentic for too many years, and I don't know how to undo that damage. But anyway, yeah, unfortunately, it's not that easy to become famous on the internet. No matter what people say. I've thought about making more controversial videos, because that would cause it to happen, but then I would have to sort through all the comments, and the things that I believe that are controversial might be like in the like fat positive movement. I was raised to be Christian, and I have some thoughts about the Bible that are probably going to be pretty controversial if I said them to most Christians. And that would probably open me up to a bunch of comments I don't want to see. So anyway, this has been an entirely long video from my standpoint. I know on YouTube people will post for like an hour or more, but for me, a 10-minute video is like super long. And it's already approaching 9. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'll check my analytics, see if anybody made it this far. I don't think a lot of people will watch this far, but some people do. So take care of yourself, and hopefully I get some kind of good news in the future. I'm not holding my breath.